Okay. Hello. I wanted to make this for two reasons. One, actually, no, now that I think about it. Okay, I may have talked about this person in the past. Now that I think about it, but I have no fucking clue. My memory is terrible. It's fucking horrid. But there's this person I once knew. We went to, I think, middle school together, and they were one of the kids where you could tell they had like a really shitty home life. But they would constantly be in and out of alternative school. Basically, this where they send all like the really bad kids. Like I went there once, and it wasn't actually as bad as people made it out to be. It's kind of funny. It's almost like prison for kids, but not literally. But the most there is like okay, they have metal detectors, and you have to go in. I think you go in like an hour later than normal school, and then you get out like a little earlier. Yeah, but you have like shorter classes that are kind of the same, and then there's smaller classes as well. So and all the teachers are kind of relaxed, or yeah, they're kind of relaxed and laid back. Um, but point is, this dude would constantly go in and out of alternative schools, right? And yeah, at some point something really bad happened to him, like really bad. I'm not gonna tell you what, it's his business, but yeah. Um, but he changed internally, not for like worse or anything, but changed internally, learned more about himself, and then I never really saw him again. But one day when I was in high school, I think it had to have at least been sophomore year because that's when I moved to my dad's side of the family. So somewhere like sophomore junior year, um, I was playing Fortnite in my room, and I ended up just on a duos game with a random person. They started talking, and then turns out it was him. But at the time, I didn't really know like what to do. Um, at that point, I was just trying to move on with life entirely, and just essentially never talk to people I once knew. Pretty much, I didn't real it's like some of it I had a reason, others I just didn't really have a reason. I just felt like that was something I was supposed to do. I should have done. That's what people usually do. Um, as people say they do at least. Like you're supposed to move on completely. You don't talk to anyone from your past. Blah blah blah. Right. But in reality, I had no like there were I had no bad interactions with this person, so that it wouldn't have made sense for me to just abandon them the way I did. But that's what it ended up feeling like after um like I don't really remember what happened, but from what I'm thinking currently, it would have made sense. Like, okay, when I say this, I'm not saying that the situation makes sense, like it's a good thing. I'm saying me looking back on it, it makes sense that these course of actions happened. But it would have made sense where we kind of reconnected during that game. I added them, that I unfriended them or something, you know. Um, but point is, I talked to them during that game, and then I never talked to them again afterwards. Or no. I think I talked to them, and I think I left the game. I don't remember. I don't fucking remember. But yeah. And then since then, like afterward, I felt a little bad, and I think I probably just forgot about it. Like I forget about everything. And then slowly, as years went on, because I think about everyone that I think I've had bad, um, either like yeah, like negative endings to the relationship. Um, with does that make sense? I think that makes sense. At least grammatically, it doesn't make sense, but you understand what I mean. It makes sense. You get it. But anyways, but I think about that. Like I think about that with a lot of the female friends I've had in the past, and I was the type of person that would fall in love with all of them. I was a desperate little kid, and um, attachment issues from your childhood. So there's that added on. Um, but yeah, so like I was that type of friend pretty much. And it sucked because a part of me did want an actual friendship, but then a part of me was also hoping like, oh well, if they just see how nice and funny I am, then oh they'll choose me, you know. But that was never the case. And it doesn't really matter. It's just how I thought as a kid, you know. And it's yeah, no, like I don't know. It's partially how I still think, but not to the point where like but basically it's not to the point where like I'm gonna hover around someone and hoping they pick me. But now I'm more of like I'm more of my authentic self. At least I think I am. I don't know. I could be masking. I don't fucking know. Um, but yes, like I'm still that fun, happy person. At least I think that's the actual me, but that could also just be a mask. Um, when I'm with other people. But yeah, and funnily enough, that is usually that's what helps and that's what works. Um, and that's what causes people to want to be friends with me and beyond, you know. But anyway, point is, um, someone else that I just literally met like maybe like what 20 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, or no, yesterday actually, and then just now we talked again. Cool person, cool person. Um, they reminded me of the person I just told you about, so there's that. And because I was describing it to them, and I know I've described it in a past video, but none of these are labeled. Um, beside beyond like dates, and maybe there's like a shimmer of like a shimmer. What the fuck? No. There's like a I guess shimmer gleam. I don't know. There's like there's a semblance. That's what it is. Fuck. There's a semblance of an actual title there sometimes. But for the most part, they're just kind of they're almost like journal dates, but they're not really journals. They're just me speaking, and I just date them. And but then again, you can look at the YouTube video and look at the date. Anyways, the point is, I'm going to now describe to you the origins of Mess of Chess. So basically, there's this writer, and they use these clay shapes, and they put them all on different colored pieces of paper, and they're basically building out this map for this this game, or not this game, but this basically just this idea that they're ranting about in the moment. They're basically walking in circles, ranting about this entire thing, and pretty much if you look on my Ko-fi, the section that I'm telling you like right now is I think it's the ranter's rant or something. I forget, but it's the ranter's rant, the ranter's conditions, I think, and then the origins of the mess of chess. There's three separate sections. But basically, the ranter rants about this idea, and during this whole thing, there's a storm happening, and a lightning strikes, and this ranter likes drinking coffee a lot, and the lightning strike um causes them to spill their coffee. That's why the game is called Mess of Chess, because it's a mess that results in the chess game being actualized. But the reason why that lightning strike happens is paradoxical. Paradoxical. um, so yeah, basically, the lightning strike happens because there is a group of five people who, and technically it's not okay. Well, yeah, technically it's a group of five people, or it could either be like five players and then yeah, it could be five players, or four players and an NPC, or three and two NPCs, or one player and four NPCs. It just depends on literally who gets the quest. Um, yeah. Uh, but basically, within the Sozio the Lands like universe, at some point, a player or a group of players get a quest that essentially results in them causing the lightning strike, right? And sadly, like I don't like I don't want to explain lore stuff like this because it feels like, or I think it would be more special and just more interesting and exciting if um if you just experience this as players, as people experiencing the entire universe. Similar to how like for example Fortnite, right? Even people that don't play Fortnite sometimes hear about the events that happen, you know? And then players that play the game experience those events, experience those events and talk about them about it, talk about them for a bit, you know? The only hang up I have with all of it is that it doesn't feel real. Like yes, the events are literally happening, but they're like planned, but it's like a corporate type of thing. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't feel organic, it doesn't feel real, if that makes sense. Like it's just man, I don't know how to explain it, but they could have done so much with Fortnite, bro. They could have done so freaking much, man. So much. Also, fun fact. So, um, obviously the way we identify as people affects how we speak, right? And I notice I say bro, man, homie is kind of gender neutral in my opinion. Same with bro, but bro, like in the on like the surface level, it leans more masculine, but due to the nature of my generation, I'm 25, and people younger, we use bro. I get just neutrally, pretty much. But um, but I think due to me still identifying mostly with the masculine, if not completely with the masculine, or 99%, then I still use those terms just as I speak. Like if I'm speaking to an imaginary person right now in my head. Um, like as I'm recording, I'm speaking. I know I'm speaking to someone because someone's listening. But for me to be able to speak, if this makes sense, I'm essentially talking to an imaginary person, and the way I voice that is through male-centric terms, pretty much. But yeah, but the hope is one, immortality, because I think that'd be fucking awesome. And I'd be able to experience everything forever, the ups and downs, learn, grow, explore, you know what I mean? Uh, but also in like, or especially once I get to that point to where like I know I live forever, then I know for a fact I no longer have to confine myself to this one rigid way of being. I can truly be free and express myself to the fullest, pretty much. You know? And I can do that now, yeah, but I'm not financially secure enough to where I can do that and not have to worry about judgment from people around me, you know? Now, if I had like millions or billions, then yeah, I could go do it right now. But even then, that would really just, at the most, it wouldn't really be changing myself physically all that much, but I could see myself taking estrogen, and that's more out of curiosity, honestly. It's not out of like I feel trans. It's literally just out of curiosity because I want to see what a balance feels like. You know what I mean? Or at least maybe a different balance or a different ratio, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because I'm used to thinking the way I do my entire life, but even then, I don't think there really is. Well, no, I can't say that. There is a difference. I just don't understand the difference. I can understand it through words and understanding like just someone telling me, yeah, but I can't feel the difference. I don't truly understand the difference, you know? Plus, women on average and female leaning people on average, I guess women leaning people on average, I wouldn't say female leaning people, feminine leaning people. on average feel more than the masculine side. You know, they feel deeper, they feel more. You know what I mean? And I wanna understand and feel that way too. But that's down the road. That's not now. Um, but yeah, man. So pretty much, the ranter makes their mess, right? And that's caused by the lightning strike, and that's caused by and so specifically the lightning strike happens due to that group of people concluding their quest, and their quest is to essentially cause a bunch of important figures within the lands to essentially all be at heightened annoyance, and that generates a lightning strike in the real world, technically, or in the real physical world, pretty much, or not in the what the fuck, the real fictional world. My bad. Um, but yeah, it was just something I thought of, and I just wrote it down, and that's just a part of the whole thing now. But a lot of my notes and stuff are scattered. Like I have like two documents now just filled with notes. Well, not documents, but two like like save save notes. If that make yeah. I have two like saved notes with like just filled with doc or filled with notes. Notes. Yeah, like currently the big thing I'm trying to work through is subtle magics or subtle magi. And like so far I have spin, bust, burst, track, node, link, trail, and that's it. I think those are probably all the ones I'm gonna end up having. And I fully figured out the crafting system. Um, and originally they were gonna be set things that you would use to craft. So like gears, springs, nuts, bolts, nails. And it's meant so I'll go with crafting specifically. It's meant so that you can use the least amount of things that are specifically for crafting to make endless amounts of or to make whatever you can possibly dream and think of, you know. Like gears would be more of like inner workings of mechanics. String. I said spring. I mean string. String would be it could either be literal string, it could be rope, it could be used to make a guitar or to make a string yeah, an instrument that uses strings. Literally anything that you can think of as like a string type of concept, that's what it'll be used for. And at that, you can also use different materials. You can use iron, metal. Well, matter is like a general term, but metal, iron, wood, rubber, diamond, obsidian, emerald, ruby, whatever the fuck, right? Like because it's not bound by our laws. You could have like a string that moves like a regular string, but it's made of diamond. So it's as hard as diamond, but it's malleable as a string, pretty much. You know, there's also a magic called morph, which allows you to change the size of something. And what that actually means is that you essentially have two separate, like basically everything can exist or fuck. Like okay. You have a string, right? You have a piece of string and there are separate sizes of that string, right? So let's say normally it's at size 1, but it goes up to like size 5, right? And then 5 is like rope size, right? Um, well, morph allows you to change between those sizes, so you could turn it from a size 1 string to a size 3 string, you know. Um, so you could have like a string that's just tied around your finger, and no one really thinks it's a weapon, but then you just untie it, and then um, and then you throw it, and then you have it programmed to where whatever target you're throwing it at, the string wraps around the target, and you also set it to where it morphs as soon as it leaves your hand. So basically, you throw it, it morphs into a size like 5 string, right? To where it's now a full rope size, longer, thicker. Then it wraps around the opponent. Now they can't move. You know. but that was all just from this little string made of whatever material that it was made of, right? But yeah, and there's also like a whole like programming system and everything. Not well, yeah. Apparently, it's like it's kind of the basis of how actual programming works. Basically, if this, then if this, then that, or this statements. And that's pretty much what it is. What it is. So with that whole rope scenario, that would be if concept of this specific rope um is thrown towards target, then rope or then this specific concept of rope or of this rope grows to size 5 and wraps around target, right? And then you could have it chained to where um then you could have it chained to where like okay, if this specific concept of the rope does not wrap around target, then blah 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 thing happens. Maybe it explodes, um you know what I mean, or like it shrinks down, or it teleports back to originator's finger, right? Just what literally anything you can think of, right? There's teleportation magic. There's a lot of different magics, but oh, excuse me, yeah. Um, but yeah, so yeah, and then nuts, what the fuck, nuts, bolts, nails, basically just how they work in our world, just within that or within the game, pretty much, or I guess in universe. Um, but I ended up not doing that, and essentially you similar to the crafting thing, you basically make a blueprint of whatever you're trying. So like a nail, right? You literally make a blueprint of a nail, and then that manifests on your crafting whatever the fuck it is, whether it's a board, whether it's a table, whether it's a cup. It could literally be anything. Um, yeah, similar to like in the Ben 10 idea, or the not Ben 10 idea slash not No Man's Sky idea, in the 25 in the list of 25 plus ideas. Um, Within that whole thing, uh, similar to how Ben from Ben 10 has the Omnitrix, you have that kind of system, basically a DNA storage device for different aliens. But you can have a watch, you could have a pocket watch, you could have a necklace, you could have a pencil, you could have anything that acts as that conduit for that DNA storage to transform into your aliens, right? Basically that same concept before a crafting table, pretty much. Um, and maybe everyone gets like the base versions of everything. So like everyone gets a literal, like think of like a cutting board, right? It's like that kind of table, and then you have I guess like metaphysical, intangible yet um slightly visible versions of whatever basic tools you have to use for crafting. So let's say you have okay. Let's say you have three rods, right? Three wooden rods, and you want to make a three section staff, right? So then you could make it like the most bare bones version of a three section staff, and essentially um have bolts, and then no, no, yeah, wait, yeah, I think, fuck, hold on, let me look up nuts. I always mix those up. Nuts and bolts. Wait. Oh, I'm thinking of screws, not nuts. Wait, what the fuck? When I use mechanical a bolt is a threaded rod with the oh, I'm fucking dumb. Okay, wait, no. So that is a bolt. So what the fuck is that? Bruh. Are screws called nuts? Nuts commonly called in the standard. Wait, what? Screws are commonly known and those external threads can be called. The shape of the nut is usually hexagonal and the inner hole thread, which is used to collaborate with the bolts and tighten parts. The nut is commonly called and the bruh. Okay, I'm confusing myself, but basically, maybe sort of bolt should have been screw. Fuck. Oh, I'm confusing myself. I thought I had the right things. I didn't. But um, anyways, basically, okay. So think of like a screw, and then you have a nut on the other side, right? So you pretty much you screw one end of one rod to the other end of another rod, and you screw that in, or you no, you make a hole, and then you screw them through each other, and then you put a nut on the other side. That way, it can still turn, but it's not going to come undone, basically, right? And then you do that same thing on another end. So now you have a three section stack, pretty much. And that was simply you using three rods and then two screws and two nuts, right? Um, or I guess you could just have the hole and then this. I don't fucking know. I still gotta figure that part out. But basically the point is that instead of having like these as specific items, or technically you have them as little items, but they're more of like little concepts, and then you pour materials into it, so you can make them out of whatever material, which increases durability or have or has like whatever like the like so there's I forget it. I think they're just gems is what the concept is called, and they made of they're the different things that the different properties that they have give them their names. Like there's emerald gems, there's ruby gems, there's obsidian gems, there's pale gems. Um, and they all come from different sources, different time periods, and there's a limit to how many there are. Just due to because they're from the past, they have a set limit of how many. So point is basically um you could have like a screw that's made of diamond, and then the nuts are made of ruby, right? And that gives them like different durabilities, dur, 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 durability properties and everything, right? But that's that didn't really matter now. That's later down the line. That's after like the first game is made and we have funding coming in to be able to get help with the rest of this. But yeah, and then the subtle magics are for like all the little in between bits. So if let's say like you make something you make a barrier using barrier magic, right? Or I mean let's say you make a square using barrier magic, right? And then you make it really thin. You make the barrier really, really thin, right? But you don't want to just shoot this square at someone. You want to make it spin. So then you have the subtle magic attached to it, which makes it spin, generating a, a sort of like wind, a mini like wind wall around it, similar to how if you spin something in real life, you can feel the air around it, basically like that. And the faster you spin it, the thicker that wind wall is, pretty much. Yeah. So like let's say like you spin something and you throw it at someone. If something else is trying to intercept it, but it's not strong enough, then it'll get flung away by the wind wall, pretty much. That'll reduce its speed, but it'll keep going, basically. So that's kind of the point of spinning, and then yeah, and then burst and bust are essentially inverted versions of each other. Um, Yeah, but and they're specifically tied to like not like a fail-safe mechanic, but so there's this core concept where so like let's say physical basically anything you're doing, you can only do it I think 8 times in a row or something or no. nine times in a row, and the tenth one either causes whatever you're doing to bust or burst. So like let's say you're casting a spell, right? And let's say it's just it's a fireball spell, right? And you have no, it's not. Fuck, what is it? Okay, no, okay, no. Just to explain it easier, let's do regular physical attacks. So let's say you're in combat and you're doing you're doing like a combo on someone, right? That combo can essentially only last up to 9 hits, and then you have to stop. Similar to how like their stamina gauge, and that only allots you a certain amount of attacks. Like usually kicks cost more than punches, right? Well, in this case, it's it's your punches or kicks or whatever you're doing is based on however much you've decided, um, however much will or technically energy you've decided it takes up, right? So you can make it to where like your punches actually do more damage, because they take up more will than your kicks, right? Or vice versa, you know, or specifically your left kick, right, does more damage than all of your other limbs or whatever, right? Same thing with speed, right? You can have like really fast and strong attacks, right? But you also can't have max everything. There's a give and take. Like that way, it's balanced pretty much. So if you know what something strong, if you know what someone's strongest stats are, you know what their weakest stats are. But point is, um, like someone can only attack you up to 9 times, and then they have to stop. You know, for like basically they have you have that gives you your window to attack in pretty much. So um yeah, so like pretty much to try to completely stop yourself from possibly going over that limit, you would only do like 4 or like 5 to 7 attacks in a row, and then you would stop. And even then, to throw off your opponent, you would also either have like slower timed attacks or faster time attacks or delayed attacks or feints, similar to like if you're actually fighting someone in real life, you know. But yeah, by the way, martial arts is really, really fun. You should try it. Um, but yeah, and there's like lore reasons to why you can't go up to 10. Um, if you look at my notes that I've put on Ko-Fi and I've said in videos, you'll understand um why. But there's big lore reasons and everything why. But I think that's it. I think that's all I want to talk about. Yeah, it's already 30 minutes. It's a long fucking video. I don't like making these long because people don't watch. Well, I don't know. I mean, no, cause I watch long videos, but that's just me. But the goal is to keep them down to like 10 minutes. This was a long one. That's okay. Um, that's it though. Thank you for listening, and go to my Ko-Fi, and um everything's free, which is sort of a downside for me, but upside for people. But downside because I've noticed that people literally just go there, they look at everything and leave. Or people just go and leave. I don't know if they look at everything, I don't know if they look at one thing or if whatever the fuck, I don't know. But I've noticed. And the only people that I've gotten to give are people that I've directly communicated with, pretty much. Or people, well, yeah, like to a degree. Like the one donation I got so far was the $5, and that was from a random person on Reddit, specifically a random Russian dude, or not Reddit, what the fuck, a random Russian dude on Twitter. I mean, it's pretty cool. Um, yeah, I translated his posts and everything. I'm like, oh shit, that's pretty cool. Um, it's just cool seeing the other language. I think that was what was cool about it. Anyways, that was it. Bye bye.